I mean, it was just all very inappropriate. There were police and they treated us like we were criminals in a place that we didn't belong, but it was our home. It's a much higher risk. Absolutely. I've been arrested. It was just very aggressive and very hostile.
Stephanie, hello.
Hello.
So I'm thrilled to introduce us, Stephanie Wiedemann, to this interview. Stephanie is a dedicated public servant with a deep connection to the Thornton Township, where she served for roughly 20 years. And she has a lot of information to give us. I mean, obviously, her tenure was abruptly ended in March of 2022 by our super mayor, or the super mayor, and her involvement with the Dalton Park District, where she serves as the interim executive director. So, Stephanie, thank you for joining me today. It's an honor to have you to share your experiences and your insights with all of us. So, where to start? We could start something kind of easy in terms of a little bit about yourself and how you came to work in public in local governance, and what inspired you to get involved. I'll be honest, I haven't talked to anyone that had experience in local governance, so I guess that's a pretty easy one to kind of jump into.
Well, it actually started when I had my first daughter, and went to cosmetology school. After high school, I was doing hair. I had my first daughter, and then I realized that there was no health insurance and there was no, the things that were important for assisting in raising children. I wasn't provided through that. So I got a chance to apply for a seasonal position at Thornton Township for a tax refund program. And I gave it a shot and I was hired, and it just kind of grew from there. The supervisor at the time was a great leader. He was an amazing man, and he really poured into people. And I was very young and a much different person than I am now. And he believed in me, and he kept pushing me. And watching him serve people inspired me to do the same.
So, in your experience, if you could think back, what is the biggest reward that you found of working with local government and community service?
Honestly, it's the giving back. It's the knowing that you can improve somebody's life, that you can provide for a need, that you can, you know, assist in ways that you wouldn't otherwise have the capability of doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that and I guess that's what motivates you to continue to work despite the challenges that comes with it, right?
correct. And I think after, you've poured your entire adult life into something, I think that there is definitely a will to always fight for it, to always see what's right, to respect the people that have granted me the life I live. I mean, I don't take for granted that every house I've purchased, every car I've purchased has been with hard earned taxpayer money. I respect that.
Got you. So I mean, we can kind of just jump right in and talk about Mayor Tiffany Henyard. I guess go all the way to the beginning. Um, what was the context of your initial meeting, and what was your initial thoughts with Tiffany Henyard? I guess from the very beginning, how that situation came about.
Actually, I've known her for quite some time. We met when she ran for trustee the first time. My previous boss was also the Thornton Township committeeman. So he was involved in a lot of elections through that seat, and I always volunteered. And when she ran for trustee, there was, a team put together. I was part of that team. Our interactions back then were very short, very business oriented. Um, but the qualities that I see in her now that I dislike were there then. It did come to a point where I felt like she was uh, always looking to take something from the organization rather than to bring something to it. So it became a stance of mine after the first election that I would no longer be working Dalton elections if she was on the ballot. So after that point, her and I didn't really communicate at all until she became supervisor. And
So, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and then there was no communication, one-on-one until the Thursday before I was let go. I was let go on a Tuesday, and that Thursday before that was the first time I sat down and spoke to her.
So, in terms of her, it when you said you kind of knew this person had some issues, just communicating, dealing with others, you knew that kind of early on, just dealing with her before she got more power and more, I guess they get more power
Yes.
with the situation.
The
Okay.
qualities, they were there, and I believe that the money and the power made those small qualities very large.
Can you describe the first instance where you thought with Hanyard, her decision making or her ethical or legal standards, when was the first time you thought, okay, this is a problem? You may not know how big the problem is going to be, but what was that first instance like, yeah, this is not good?
It was 2 days after she was appointed. You
Very
know,
early on.
as a leader in that position at that time, it was my job to do my best to make sure that I kept a positive attitude. After she was appointed, I just, everybody just, let's keep up. She was somewhat part of our team. Maybe this isn't going to go as bad as we think. Let's just all wait it out and give it a shot. Um, I happened to be off work the next day. I went in the following Monday, and that was when it hit me that this wasn't gonna this wasn't gonna be okay. I mean, when I tell you that they came in there and made it felt like a takeover. I mean, just busting in people's office. They have, you know, trustee Andrew Holmes with a list of everybody's salary. He's walking around with somebody talking about, well, they shouldn't make that. And that was when I realized that this wasn't going to be an easy transition for anybody.
When you first started to talk about your mentor, I think his name was Frank Zuccarelli. Am I
Correct.
pronouncing that correct?
Mhm.
So it seems like you said a takeover. Did did Hanyard had an issue with him? Obviously, like, what was there any issues with that situation? Because, like you said, it seems like she kind of came in and wanted her own people, her own team, and kind of wanted to push everyone out. Was there conflict before that with the previous administration?
Um, okay, so professionally, they played nice. And
Mhm.
because he's no longer here, and it's not really my place to ruin somebody's image of what their relationship with somebody was, they played nice in the sandbox.
Mhm. Until it was time to do their thing, I guess, in terms of moving forward and I guess describe that situation when she finally said, this is not going to work out and you had to leave.
We had a meeting. In that meeting, I lightly briefed her on, what was kind of in the making and what the prior administration had been working on. Um, and then in that conversation, she just kind of sat back and she said, you're not part of my team and I don't trust you. So you're obviously not going to have this job anymore. So which job do you want? And
Mm,
explained to her that, like, this is my team. These are my people. Um, they put you in this seat as the leader, and I think it would be better for you to make that decision. If you want me to go to the senior department, I'll do that. If you want me to, be a janitor, I'll do that. But I think that should be on you because I don't think it's fair to put me in a position where I feel like I have to go after somebody that I care about's job.
really appreciate that. So the first time I saw you on a few news programs talking about some of the spending and that was going on. And when I joined the Dalton's political or politics Facebook group,
Mhm.
you were dropping a lot of information about the lavish spending. Are you even surprised of how over the top and lavish the spending what was going on with her and her team?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody should be. It's it's all of our money.
Mhm,
So, and I think the thing that makes it hardest to understand is that a lot of those trips were not township related. So it makes it harder to imagine that you're bringing anything back that would benefit 17 communities rather than just Dalton.
mhm. So when she's talking, I mean, like I said, you were kind of removed, but talking to some, I'm sure you have still have communications with some of the people there, and you still have that inside track. When do people, her team or anyone, ask her like, "Hey, what are you doing? Or what is this for?" What is her response? Is it just, "I'm doing this to bring money to the plate"? Like, what is her go-to line? Because I don't really have when she the only time I hear her speak about it is, "I'm doing this to help." But is that what she's telling everyone? And do those people believe her when she's saying this?
I mean, I think they would have to continue to stand by her as she does it. I can't imagine that somebody would I can't imagine how they wouldn't know what's happening is wrong. I mean, it's one thing to go on a training, a conference, a but twice a month, I
Mhm.
mean, it's excessive.
So in terms of another thing that blows my mind, that the well, you know what? I have another question. In terms of the people in that community, when they do, what are their thoughts? Because you obviously are involved in that community. Do most people have a problem, or do most people don't are not paying attention? It's kind of hard to not pay attention now, but not everyone has, they don't participate in politics or spend a lot of time in politics. But what is the if you're able to have the temperature of that community, what other people are saying?
Um, well, people are definitely paying attention now. And the consensus is the same. I mean, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for all of us. It's unbelievable that it could go this far and not be stopped. I mean, it's I these are real communities with real people that she's causing real problems to. And I think that it puts us all in a position that is, very compromising, and it's unbelievable that it could go on this long.
So one of the things I saw a video of the music videos, and she's using city workers, police officers, doing all these dancing and all this stuff to, I guess, try to boost her image.
Mhm.
But what was your thoughts on that approach? Where did she get this approach from? Like to do that, like I said, it just seemed like she's really focused on her image. And it seems like everyone's paying attention. So like it's not working. But what's your thoughts when even using police officers to do the TikTok type dances and all that type of thing? And obviously spending a lot of the money that should be for the people.
Correct. That's the first thing for the people. What programs could have been put in place? What could have been given back to the community that would have benefited if we didn't have to pay overtime for that? Or, could a crime have been prevented if those police officers were on the streets rather than making a music video? Um, there's a lot that goes to it. But yes, her image is it means a lot to her. Um, and unfortunately, she's in the wrong profession for that.
Mhm,
Being a supervisor specifically, but being any elected official is really a place for a servant. A township provides, help, aid. It's really a give back position. So to have somebody in there that's so worried about their image is disturbing, and it's even more disturbing that we're paying the cost of that.
Um, the recall effort, because I get a lot of messages and a lot of engagement with the comments about why recall. I mean, how did you feel when that didn't pan out the way I think most people wanted?
It was disappointing. I mean, all 1,900 people that voted to remove her were very disappointed, and it
Mhm.
was discouraging. And people felt like their voice did not matter. It
Yeah.
it it was a tough one to push through, but Dalton is a strong community. You know, they really figure out a way to band together, and I mean, there's some good people out there, and I think that the media in general doesn't necessarily do a good job of pointing that out. We have poor leadership, but a great community.
If you could describe Mayor Henyard's leadership style, how would you describe it?
Dictator.
Yeah, it's as simple as that, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean,
it I, it's interesting in terms of that dynamic between Henyard and the village board and trustees. Like the last meeting, I don't know if you saw it, was really intense, and it was very aggressive, and it was like a TV show.
yep.
When even so, has it always been that bad from the time she kind of jumped in and held his power? It was always that bad? I'm asking
Yeah,
if it was.
to be honest, it was similar prior to her also, because when she was a trustee, believe it or not, she was fighting against the same things that she is doing now. So there was a lot of tension in previous board meetings also, but nothing like this. I mean, she's made it a monthly sitcom.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's something that it's hard to believe that is actually real. And I know you said that you're running the park, the Dalton Park District.
Mhm.
What are the struggles that you are dealing with? Uh, obviously dealing with that whole situation, but like, tell us a little bit more of your struggles on how you're trying to help the people, and you have this obstacle here. So, could you give us a little more details on exactly what you're going through?
So we're doing some work to improve five different parks. We have 11. We're upgrading five. We're in the process of one where we're trying to put in a walking trail, some fitness equipment, a gazebo, a new parking lot. It's a big project. It's a lot of work, and we are trying to get through the permitting process. We have gotten the permit, the approval from our engineer, the village engineer, um, and I've signed all the paperwork, but the mayor refuses to sign it. We can't get any responses. The contractors are having no luck. It's just honestly, in my opinion, it's just an abuse of power. You say you care about these residents, the whole "I love you and there's nothing you can do about it," but when someone is trying to beautify your community that's not you, you won't allow it to happen. I don't think that's fair to the residents. We're trying to do right by them, and because she doesn't like me or whoever else that might be, we can't proceed. The residents aren't allowed to benefit because of that. It's very unfair, but it's a very common move of hers.
So it's personal. Like,
It's
if you weren't there, you think if she had someone she liked, she would help out in the situation.
honestly, prior to me being hired, their PR person that they brought on a couple months before me, she's not friendly with her either. So to be quite honest with you, before that move, absolutely, she would have done it 100%. She had her inauguration there when she
Mhm.
became mayor.
Yeah. Oh, Nate Delory with $10 super chat. Appreciate you. Big fan of Nate Delory's channel. He's amazing. Love the interview. Dalton is famous now. The mayor is great. 100 million%. Good luck with the crazy mayor. Thank you. Appreciate you for that super chat. I mean, we're talking behind the scenes a little bit about, there's a really good YouTube video. I'm sure you guys may have already seen, especially if you're really involved in the situation, about psychiatrists kind of speculating on the personality type that this leader has. I mean, you look through the financial of all the spending and the police detail overtime and travel expenses on a budget of a small town of Dalton. It must be devastating. Um, in terms of how do you guys figure a way out of this. Are you, oh, this question is, are you impatient with some of the authorities like the FBI and Attorney General? Are you frustrated with the lack of speed of this investigation to see like they could try to stop this from continuing?
Absolutely. I mean, I understand the process, and I get that the federal agents may be a little ways away. I believe they usually take the longest. Where my disappointment comes in is our immediate state elected officials, like the attorney general and the state's attorney. Like, these are your literal jobs, and this community has reached out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And I feel like the what feels like unwillingness to really help is discouraging.
Do you ever question or do you have any ideas of why they haven't jumped in? I- If you had a thought, because I don't know.
Um, Honestly, I I really I really could I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, on the outside looking in, is she so well connected that they're like, or is it? Do you think is because it's a small town, is not a priority? Um, I,
Um, well, I mean, Thornton Township is the largest township in Illinois.
mhm.
I do think that it's not that it's not a priority. I think it's more that who wants to be the bad guy to do it?
Mhm.
If I were to guess, I mean, if I were to guess, I would say that it is just a matter of somebody not wanting to take the heat that could come along with something like this. But I also think, in my personal opinion, that not addressing it, also holds a high risk.
Mhm. Sherry had a really good comment reel here. There's a lot of comments. I'm sorry if I haven't, it's flying by, but protecting the party. So we talked about, before we got on about, in my opinion, it's really about this person's leadership style and their ethical or the unethical means of how they're doing things is the most important thing, not the party. But is it possible that the reason why they haven't done anything because everything is so political and each side don't want to point out the problems of their own, so they ignore things even if it's hurting people? You think that's a possibility?
It's possible. Absolutely, it's possible. It's
Yeah.
sadly unfortunate if that's the case, because the people being hurt are actually the people that put you in those seats.
Yeah.
So if that's their, rationale behind it, it's highly disappointing. I've been involved for a long time, and I would just hate to think that everything I've worked for is based on protecting a party instead of the people.
You've talked about the police intimidation in one of the videos I've seen, to a point where I think I've jokingly said, maybe I will, hang out in Dalton. And I've received several messages telling me, do not do that. Do not show up. Something will happen. They'll do something. They, is the policing in that situation, talking about the intimidation, is it a safety issue? Is it like a dangerous situation? Just like I said, the intimidation, some of the stuff, the spying. I mean, describe a little bit of that, since you have obviously have dealt with that, and people that that dealt with that. Tell us a little bit about exactly what they're doing in terms of the intimidation factor.
Well, I guess it depends on what resident you are, and, of course, how you feel about the mayor. Those of us that are very vocal, it's a much higher risk. Absolutely. I've been arrested, so we know that.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yep. So we know that they will take it to a point of doing what's wrong. Um, I, I don't. I would hope that it wouldn't come to a point of physical danger, but I can definitely say that a lot of residents are very uncomfortable. You come to a board meeting and there's more cops in that boardroom than there ever are on the streets. I don't ever see that many police officers, and they stand around you, if they're it's not all of the officers. It's the ones that she brings near her that are usually willing to do a little more. That deputy chief is definitely a a special case, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to talk about the arrest. If not, you don't have to. But so they just find, is it just finding something small and ridiculous to bother people with? Again, people that she doesn't like, or people who are who are outspoken about the mayor. Is that
Yeah,
the kind of, okay? Awesome.
absolutely. And the arrest specifically was for me picking up a piece of campaign literature off the car.
So what's the charge with that?
Theft
The
under 500.
wow. That's just unbelievable. Um, there's a lot of lawsuits,
Mhm.
a lot of legal challenges. I was just wondering, like, what steps do you think need to be taken to restore accountability and transparency? Let's say, for instance, that somehow she is removed. Um, how long would it take, or what, like I said, what steps should be taken to restore accountability and transparency in Dalton's local government? What do you think should be changed? Or like, what do you think, if you had that magical wand, you're able to change everything?
Well, I think the person that gets in there needs to start by having a plan, and that plan needs to be public. I mean, when we talk about transparency, it means sharing, you know, everything, following through, making things accessible for the public. It's not going to be an easy task. It is going to take more than one term.
Mm,
Just because she spent more money doesn't mean more money comes in. That deficit is what it is, no
yeah.
matter what.
I know. Do you have any? I guess familiarity with, or at least more intimate details with Keith Freeman and some of the things he has. Like, do you have any history with him?
I actually do not. The first time I met Keith Freeman was when he started at the township with Tiffany.
Got you, got you. But so I guess on the outside looking in, a lot of people believe that Keith Freeman is kind of like the brains behind everything. Is that accurate? Is it more on just Tiffany just bringing, or sorry, Mayor Henyard is just bringing similar personalities into her group?
Yes. I
Okay.
think she picks people like her. I also think she picks people that are slightly weaker than her because, uh, I mean, I know you couldn't dangle a paycheck over my head to get me to do some of the things that these people have to do and deal with some of the things that these people have to deal with. I see the way she's talked to people. I've watched lives be destroyed and her not bat an eye. She makes all these moves, and I watch the pieces on the other side. It's she picks people that purposely are okay with these things. That I don't know that I would necessarily say that Keith is brains behind it,
Mhm.
but I believe he's the portion that enters the sneaky. Like, I think he's gotten so good at doing what he does that he figures out a way to try to make it look like her BS is acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I asked this question probably to myself, but on the last live stream about how do they think they can get away with this in terms of they must understand, like, more attention is on this situation. There's tons of lawsuits. People are looking for more transparency. The trustees are not allowed to look at some of the stuff that's being spent. Do you have an idea of what possible strategy they can have to try to make this seem okay? Or is this just they're just bulls and they're gonna just keep rushing through things until they have to be stopped? Like, do
Yep.
you think there's some kind of strategy involved with this?
I do not think there's a strategy. And furthermore, if I'm being 100% honest, I'm not sure that she even believes that she's doing anything wrong. I
Wow.
believe it with everything in me that there is something's not connecting, because I think that she tries to justify by saying that she believes the people before her did this. This is politics as usual. We've heard several of these things come out of her mouth, and you know, which may be true. I don't know who was there before that person or that person or that person. That may be the case, but if 12 people rob a bank and then I do it and I get arrested and they're like, "Why did you do this?" and I said, "Well, because the 12 of them did it." That's not going to get me out of it.
Right. Wrong
So
is
the
wrong. Yeah.
justification is not there, but I do believe that she thinks because some of the things she does is good, that the benefit that she gets brings to herself is acceptable because I gave here, here, and here. So if I take here and here and here, it's okay.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that where when she gets into her fit, it's a lot of what I've done and basically, like you say, trying to justify
Yeah,
that, hey,
is
I've
right,
done this, so I deserve some of the kickback.
right.
$10 super chat. At this point, to restore Dalton incoming leadership needs to clean house. Everyone needs to go. What do you think about that in terms of cleaning house? Like I know there's people there fighting this, especially in the Dalton, especially in those meetings with trustees. But do you think that would that be a good idea to just okay, this didn't work, let's bring a new group, or is it just let's try to investigate who did wrong and who did right and kind of go like what would be your idea with that statement there?
It would be just that. Let's get in and figure out who did what was right by the people and who wasn't. I'm a people person. Um, so my initial reaction, although it may feel good, would not be to just come in and clean house
Mhm,
because I don't believe that all of those people are bad people. I mean,
mhm,
it's just not possible. Some of them work, you know, 6 levels removed from her. They don't know what's going on. They don't know the inner makings. They just come to work and do their job. Like, yes, they read what happens and they see what's going on, but they don't notice that at work. That's an internal thing in the administration. And if you're not over there, it's not fair for their stuff to be thrown on people. I think that, like I said, it may feel good, but everybody deserves a shot.
yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the bigger, I guess the one of the I guess call it low lights, not a highlight. She plays the victim, at least in my opinion, of I'm the first this and the first black woman. They're going after me, race. How I mean, in terms of your interactions with her and when you had to deal with her, and obviously with your current position, do you think race is a big deal in her head in
Absolutely.
terms of and why?
Um, I'm not sure why. I think,
Mhm,
obviously because she was the first in that supervisor seat. I mean, absolutely, that's a great thing. And guess what? We could have made it an even better thing had you done right. But you chose the wrong path. That has nothing to do with you being black or white or a man or a woman.
true. Yeah.
It wasn't that a black woman took that seat. I mean, for crying out loud, the woman that we wanted there after the supervisor passed away was a black woman, just
Mhm,
not Tiffany.
right.
Right.
And are you surprised how she was able to gain that support to become the supervisor and the mayor? Like,
Yep.
I guess we would say, what positive attributes is it? Just her ability to be, I guess, charismatic, or like, I'm wondering how she was able to have so much power and be this, I guess you could say, incompetent, or just like I said, in her head, think that she's doing great. How did she how she was able to get that much power in the first place?
Well, the mayor seat was a lot of circumstances, and COVID had just ended. A lot of people weren't really coming out to vote. The mail-in ballot thing was still kind of sketchy. We had a very low voter turnout that election. I mean, she won the supervisor election with less votes than she got ousted in the recall. More people voted her out than in.
Mhm,
So it was just because it was a low voter turnout. There were a few people in the race. The prior mayor had some health issues that the public knew about. I think all of those were factors. Um, and the supervisor seat was, I mean, you couldn't put together more sets of circumstances to lead to one horrible situation ever again like that. I mean, it was just a matter of timing and the board not able to agree, and what probably should have went to a public vote to just let the residents decide who was in that seat. They threw out a last minute name and it stuck.
You know, the way you describe that is kind of the same narrative of how dictators are brought in, right? And other places and other times of world history where that's when those kind of people are able to get the power. A lot of things are not normal. There's a lot of chaos. There's maybe some issues with what's going on in the direction of the of either town or the city or the country. And someone kind of jumps in and you like, and then as that person is in there, you're like, oh crap, that's not the right move. But I guess that's what you're saying. Like there was a lot of things were just not the way it wasn't business as usual.
Correct.
And she was able to kind of jump in and do that.
Yeah.
Let me just, well, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I mean Hitler. I mean, yes, I guess that's a really popular dictator. Um, but I guess and we're about to get to about 45 minutes. Again, I really appreciate you for coming by. And if there's anything else you want to talk about, just let me know. We can definitely do that. But for even us outsiders, and even obviously the people who are there dealing with this, what steps should be taken? Like what can we do? What can the community do to try to get more transparency, to try to hold these people accountable? Like what more can we do to help out this situation?
Well, as far as the residents, I can't stress this enough. I know those board meetings are exhausting. I know that they're tough to sit through. I do it. It's difficult. But that's really our power. Our power is in those board meetings. We get the chance to get up and speak. They did move the public comments up to the beginning of the meeting. Everybody can get up and speak, and then they can leave and go watch the rest of the meeting from the comfort of their homes. But I think it's important that people really come and voice their opinions, because if people are being silent, then the narrative she sets out, it can stick. She's employing a lot of people. Those people are required to come to those meetings. So when you're in the building and it's just you and all of her people, it makes it seem as if there's no support on the other side, when really it's a lot of support on the other side. The residents really should just come and voice your opinions. You can do it politely. I know it's tough for them because they live there and there's the chance of tickets and things along those lines. We've seen it happen, and I get that. But their voice is needed. As far as the people, like yourself, the people on the outside, I think that the support that we feel now is really the push that was needed. It was exhausting. It's still exhausting. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to fight like this. Nobody wants to have to do these things. I don't It would just be nice to be able to do things together and to be able to, be a community, not make residents feel like they're torn between, different events. And if they go here or if they say this or it, it's just time to move on and people are tired. And I think the support we get from the outside really helps give that extra energy to push, to know that, people care and they're listening and we matter to them, even though we don't matter to our leadership.
Got you. So what is your feeling of the future? Like, let's say that by the end of this year, do you think? Like, I guess I'll have to ask this question. I'll end it with this. What is your feeling about the future of Dalton and the township? Like, what do you think is it something positive happening, or you still think that there's still going to be a lot of issues in the future, next year or so?
I think that the next year or so is going to be a tough road. I don't anticipate that we'll be out of the situation we're in prior to the next election for those seats. I hope that it does. I just don't anticipate that it will. But we do have some strong leaders here. We've got some leadership that in my opinion, if these people really stepped up, which it seems that they are, I mean, it's going to be fixed. I mean, it's going to take a while, and it's going to take a community, but we deserve it. Dalton deserves it. Thornton Township deserves it. Like, it's going to be a fight, but there's a group of us that are going to do it. And after this next year, I think that the road will get much less bumpy.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, I appreciate you for coming through. I appreciate your resilience and talking about this, even when there's a lot of chaos and a lot of incompetence and just overall a whirlwind. But talking to you and talking to others, you guys are strong. You guys are keep fighting. And like you said, more in the community needs to show up, especially at those meetings, to let everyone know that it's not just you guys; it's everyone's like that silent majority that needs to air their, or at least air out their grievances or whatever it is to say something to bring that community together. So I appreciate you so much. Guys, she said, she was nervous, but I think she did an amazing job. I think you did a great job. If
Thank
you are ever interested to come back on, just let me know. I think you did, again, fantastic job. And if any more information or something that comes up that I think that I should know about, or obviously our community needs to know about, especially here on the channel, you're always welcome to come through again and
I
talk to me. So I really, really appreciate you for coming through.
thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Enjoy the rest of your